right, well, welcome everyone. I'm David Johnson with the Fulcrum Group. I think I've met everybody here, so not going to do too much in the way of introductions. I'm going to present first, and then my business partner, Steve, is going to present second, and he'll present more. I'm going to talk more about the kind of the fun stuff, and then Steve's going to talk some more of the technical things that are required to get you into Copilot. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right. So you guys know us already. Not going to spend too much time here. Several of you guys are outsourced clients for us, and several of you do cloud services and VoIP communications and other things. So if there's anything that we can do for you, let us know. But let's keep going after that. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about the age of copilots. So there have been a lot of notable technology moments in history. The automobile, the airplane, the television. One of the biggest of all is the internet. Without the internet, we don't have artificial intelligence. So that leads us to the question of, is artificial intelligence the next big moment in technology history? I guess time's going to tell, but it's off to a roaring start. So we're going to keep talking, keep going. I went ahead of myself a little bit here. Okay, here we go. Put a 3 in chat if you've used any kind of AI tool like ChatGPT, Bard, or any of the others. All right, so you guys got a little bit of familiarity with some of the things that the AI tools can do for you. That's great. So I want to ask a question. Has anyone here ever felt like they spent their workday doing busy work? Put a 1 in if that's something that you have those days that you feel like you're just doing menial tasks all day long, right? Has anyone struggled with finding the time and energy to get work done? Put a 2 in for that one. I know that's a challenge for me sometimes, especially as it gets towards the end of the day. Would you like to delegate work, some of that, those menial tasks, so that you can focus on more important work? Put a 3 if that's something that you'd like to do. All right, some 3s, yeah. Anybody have an issue with their work quality where you make mistakes or errors and other people have to point them out for you? Put a 4 in if you ever have that one. I'm going to put in a 4 for myself. Pam says, I am the 4. All right. And then obviously we all want to be more productive. So if some of those things resonate with you, Copilot is going to be a tool that you're going to want to take a deeper look at. And so there's kind of the 3 foundations for Copilot. We're going to talk about the security foundation, and because that's a big question from most customers is, how do we know our data is secure? And when will we be able to use, or excuse me, when we'll be able to audit Copilot's usage, right? Who's using it? How are they using it? What data are they accessing? How can we avoid overexposing our data? That's a big one. You may have HR documents or financial documents that you don't want everybody in the whole organization to have access to. And then, where is my data processed? How do I know that Microsoft is not using my data for other purposes? And so Microsoft really has answers for those questions. And that's what they've really spent a lot of time on over the last couple of years preparing for. And they've spent billions and billions of dollars putting all this together. And so their approach is meant to be a comprehensive approach focused on security, compliance, privacy, and then responsible AI. And when you look at Microsoft's AI principles, uh, they really want to earn your trust, right? So making sure that you know your data is your data. Your data is never used to train the open AI foundation models without your permission. And it's protected by the most comprehensive compliance and security controls. So they want to make sure that they've got the transparency and accountability across the board there. The next slide is a little more technical, and I'm going to ask Steve to jump in here and help me a little bit. But this kind of gives you a little bit of the flow of how data flows in and out of the Copilot system, and where there are walls or protections against these things. So, Steve, do you mind chiming in a little bit?
Actually, David, with the rain, this is actually a map of how water is flowing around my property. I think you've
Right
got
now,
you've got
gotcha.
the wrong slide in there.
This
No,
little part in the middle is your swimming pool. So,
yes, and then where you see all the lines, that's my drainage easement. Just kind of explaining how all the water flows through the fence.
over to your neighbors, right?
Correct. Anyways, this is actually there's a lot going on in this map, but the basic flow. If I can kind of walk you through a little bit of Copilot, there's a whole bunch of pieces placed there. But if you see in the upper left-hand corner where you see the Microsoft apps, you see the little one on the map. Oh,
Sorry.
you see the little one on the map and the arrow pointing inward. So in the example of utilizing Office 365, one of your apps, the flow of things would be the user would prompt information out of one of your apps. And so then that's sent into the center, which is Copilot. And within that, a lot of different things are happening. The request is going into Copilot, but if you see down there where you see number 2, which is right below the Copilot image to the left, what happens is Copilot does a whole bunch of things here. One is it accesses Microsoft Graph, which is Graph is kind of the I guess kind of all the background that you have in your tenant. That's not just the content, but also the context of some of the different bits of data, information about you, information about your usage, information between other people. All of that is in the graph. But what the Microsoft Graph does is it takes all the information about you specifically and it builds out a semantic index. That index, I like to think of the index as kind of like kind of a database about all the stuff about you. And there's two different indexes, two different semantic indexes that are built. One that's specific to you because there's certain things only you have access to, your data, your information, your content. So there's a semantic index specifically for you. And then there's a semantic index for the organization, which is more role-based and more about you and others, groups that you might be part of, conversations that you're part of in teams, those kinds of things. So when you send your request in and it queries the graph, what gets returned is it adds in that context, and sends all that back to Copilot to be interpreted. This is a process that they call grounding. And I guess I like to think of grounding as, do you have a significant other, like a best friend or a spouse, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever. When I think of grounding, what I think of is When I ask my wife a question, sometimes I leave out a whole bunch of information, but because we've been married so long, she kind of fills in the gaps. So if I asked her a question like, "What's for dinner?" she might respond, "Oh, I already picked out a restaurant," because she knows that on certain nights of the week that maybe if I've been working late, then instead of us cooking, then I'm thinking we go out to eat. But that's what grounding does, and that's what Microsoft AI, the grounding operation, does. It tries to interpret your question, whatever content you put in there, and kind of guess at what you're really asking. And so when it grounds, it takes that information, sends it to the large language model, which you see in 3 going back there. And then in step 4, which you see it going over to the right, it sends it over into the large language model. The large language model is its implementation, Microsoft's implementation of OpenAI. If you've used ChatGPT, that's ChatGPT. ChatGPT is OpenAI's own version of a large language model, where Copilot, what Microsoft did is Microsoft reached out to OpenAI and said, "Hey, we love what you're doing. We love your stuff. We'd like to create our own large language model for our clients, and we're going to call it Copilot." So Microsoft's Copilot receives that large language model response, and then it sends it off to back into the graph and semantic index for post processing. That's where it's going to send you the information back that you're after. So basically, just like ChatGPT has its own way of responding, Copilot has its own way of responding. And I'm curious, how many of you have used the Copilot chat part of Copilot? Has anyone out there used that particular version? I'm looking in chat. I don't.
Just put a chat, a 1 or yes or something. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I like to think of Copilot Chat as Microsoft's version of ChatGPT. There's some differences, and if you've been to some of our previous presentations, you've heard me talk about the big differences between the two and why I prefer Copilot over ChatGPT these days. But one of the big things out of it, which you see at the top of the graphic, is the Microsoft 365 service boundary. What Microsoft and Copilot add over ChatGPT and some of the other iterations, aside from the ability to build it into Office, right into the tools that you use every day, aside from the ability to access data in your tenant, is it adds this security layer, this service boundary, this a governance layer that keeps all of your stuff inside your Office 365 tenant, as opposed to ChatGPT. If you use ChatGPT for your chat, one, you're limited by the amount of time that's there because it only goes up to, what is it, like December 2022 or something like that. It's a year or two stale, where Copilot is current. But to me, the bigger piece is that it keeps your stuff private. Anything you type into a Chat GPT prompt could end up in their large language model. What Microsoft Copilot does is it uses that service boundary, so things you type into your chats stay part of your chats, stay part of your tenant, stay inside your service boundary. So if somebody types in a question or asks something about your intellectual property into a prompt in Copilot, it stays with you. In ChatGPT, it could get added into their large language model. But that's just kind of a quick overview of this map and flow. I know that the slide is very busy and talks about a lot of different things there, but the main takeaways from this for you is that whether you're using the app or whether you're using chat, when it goes into Copilot, it's going to try and take your information, interpret what you're asking, keep learning from itself and customize itself to you. So as you use Copilot over time, it's going to get smarter to you and be able to answer things the way that you like and the way that you taking into account all of your data, all of your context, all of those kinds of things. Any questions? I know that was a lot to go through, but I'm perfectly willing to field any questions that you might have about that process or basic architecture. Okay, David.
All right. Thanks for that, Steve. I know that was a lot of information, and we'll make sure to send a copy of these slides so you'll have that you can reference later. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of the fun stuff, right? What can the AI do for you at work? And so today we're primarily going to talk about Copilot for Microsoft 365. We're not going to talk too much about Copilot for Sales or Copilot for Service, but if you have certain CRM tools, you can add those to get additional capabilities as well. So we're going to talk about the Copilot. It's priced at $360 per user per year. They have not offered up any kind of monthly pricing yet. But if you're doing the math, that's about $30 a month. I put the little asterisk at the end because if you do have an existing annual commitment with Microsoft, you can add Copilot subscriptions. And so with the so if you have a subscription, let's say your annual commitment ends in October, you could get a Copilot subscription or subscriptions, and you could co-term it with that and not have to pay a full year at that time. Of course, you'd have to pay a full year at the beginning of the next period, starting in November. But that's how the pricing works on Copilot. And then this is just a little bit of information about the free version of Copilot that Steve was talking about earlier. It's tied into your Microsoft 365 tenant, and it's basically kind of just a souped up version of the search capabilities. It does not integrate with any of your Microsoft 365 data, but it does have the commercial data protection that Steve talked about. Copilot for Microsoft 365 is what we're going to talk about mostly today. And so you're going to get much more capabilities there, and we're going to dive into those now. So Microsoft is building up use cases for a lot of different roles in an organization. So you'll see some of the roles here that are common. So we're going to talk about some examples of some of those. I've got a lot of more examples, so I'm not going to cover every one of those today. But when I send you my presentation, it'll have more of those available to you, so that you can watch those on your own. There's some videos in there that are really awesome and help you understand more clearly what Copilot can do in for different roles. And so the first one we're going to talk about is in finance. So Copilot in Excel gives you the ability to really analyze, comprehend, and visualize your data. If you're like me and you struggle with getting Excel to do what you want to be able to do, and just being able to talk to it in plain English and get it to do the things that you want to do without having to spend an hour researching the formulas or the tools, it's a really awesome way to do that. So being able to just create charts or inserting new pivot tables, refining your data. But the big one is identifying those trends, right? Being able to take your existing data and predict, what's going to happen in the future. creating visualizations of that data, and then also just asking for recommendations, and all just using plain English to make those queries happen. It's really an awesome capability. If you're in sales or marketing, Copilot for Word is a tool that really can transform the way you work. I do a lot of RFPs and those kind of things, and the ability to take an RFP, kind of give that to Copilot, give it examples of your previous proposals, and then have it create an RFP proposal based on those documents, can get you there, 80 to 90% of the way there. You can also have it rewrite sections of a document, uh, summarize lengthy sections, input, bullet sections, other things, tables, um, and really just help you take, something that might take 10 or 12 or 15 hours and cut it down to 3 or 4 hours. If you think about your compensation and uh, if you could save 10 hours on a single task, what would the value be to the organization there, right? Could you get out, if you're a salesperson, could you get out and make a few more sales calls? If you're in marketing, could you get another ad created or whatever, right? So there's a lot of advantages there. And we talked a little bit about the sales capabilities already, but there's some sales capability inside of Outlook, and just being able to stay on top of your Outlook, uh, and being able to summarize emails, look for action items in your email, uh, creating impactful emails that you're going to send to prospects, being able to prepare for meetings with a meeting prep summary. So there's a lot of really awesome things that you can do inside of Outlook, just on the sales side, but just in general, being able to catch up on your email and those kind of things. So I've got a few more examples a little bit later. And then if you add the Copilot for sales, there's even, more capabilities when you link Outlook with your CRM platform and have it do some specific content creation for you. HR, in this specific example, they talk about Copilot and OneNote. If anybody uses OneNote, it gives you the ability to analyze your notes, summarize your content, get generated Copilot generated bullet list or sections. So there's some really neat things that can be done there. This is something that I use OneNote quite a bit, and I struggle sometimes with my formatting and other things, and so I'm kind of excited about getting some capabilities here. I wanted to spend just a little bit of time talking about the differences between Copilot for Microsoft 365 and another Microsoft product called Microsoft Teams Premium. So they're separate products. They have a tiny bit of overlap, but they're for different capabilities, and a lot of times you're going to get them together. So the Teams Premium right now is under promotional pricing. It's at $7 a user per month. And then at some point, it's going to bump back up to the normal pricing of $10 a user per month. But it has the ability to do some advanced capabilities like custom watermarks, background blur, more controls around chat and other things, more branding in your meetings, templates that are already pre-configured ahead of time, virtual appointment capabilities such as SMS reminders, being able to join on the web and doing scheduling. Really great for sales teams. Same thing with the webinars, with the registration and custom communication in a green room. One of the really cool ones that we use quite a bit is the real-time translation of meeting captions and transcripts. So you can have a running translation and captions of the content as it's being spoken. And then, of course, the intelligent recap is available both in Teams Premium and Copilot for Microsoft 365. And so that's where and I've got a couple of videos later that'll show some more, so I'm not going to talk too much about that now. But and then you get down here below, you can kind of see the additional capabilities in Microsoft 365 Copilot. And one of the best things about Microsoft and their Microsoft 365 tenant, the ecosystem, is that they're always adding new functionality. So these are just a few examples of functionality that's coming down the pike. And some of these things might actually already be here since this presentation is about a month old. So, but you can kind of see some of the different things there. I think the one that I was excited about was being able to automatically schedule a follow-up meeting from an email summary in Outlook. So Microsoft Copilot Studio is a tool that is designed to simplify creating and maintaining your own copilots. Think of those as AI-powered conversational interfaces. These copilots can be used to handle various requests, from answering common questions to resolving more complex issues. And you can use Copilot Studio to build your own copilots without needing software developers. These AI companions engage with customers, employees across channels like your website, mobile apps, and inside of Microsoft Teams itself. And you can extend and customize Copilot to help your business in a lot of different ways. So there's lots of different connectors, so you can connect Copilot to existing data that you have and other applications like a CRM or ERP or finance systems. You can use those to incorporate business processes into Copilot. So think about things like HR. You know, what is our PTO policy? How do I submit a PTO request? All of those different things, rather than a human having to answer it, having the Copilot answer it for you. So, and there's also a standalone Copilot Studio for building Copilots as well, but it's included in the Copilot for Microsoft 365. All right, so we've talked about the security foundation, we talked about all the cool stuff, and now we're going to talk a little bit about the culture shift that's required to bring AI into your organization. So when Copilot users were surveyed, and this is way back from the early access program back in early 2020, or excuse me, late 2023, Copilot users said they were a lot more productive, especially when it came to email, mundane tasks, finding what they needed and getting a good draft faster. And so those are all things that I'm excited about. I'm sure you guys are as well. And so it's a little bit of a new way of working. So there's going to be the Copilot software, but there's also going to have to be culture changes within your organization as well. So, people don't always take kindly to change. So you've got to help them see the new way. And so these are some of the common questions about, kind of getting started. who's going to get the first Copilot seats. Think of that as like a proof of concept or a pilot itself. You know, Once we start rolling it out, how do we get the employees up to speed quickly? What kind of tools and resources do we have available for them? And then how can we measure the impact? How can we know that we're getting our return on investment, right? Because those subscriptions are not inexpensive, and we want to make sure that we're getting our money back from that. So we'll talk a little bit about each of those. And so Microsoft likes to call this the three-phase approach, to getting Copilot implemented and progressing within your organization. And so Steve is going to talk a lot in his presentation about the readiness and adoption. But there's also measurement as well, where you can quantify the impact, and figure out the ways that Copilot is improving your organization and then saving you money. So now I've got a few little examples of some other things that you can use. Copilot Lab is kind of a cool one. If you've ever struggled with how to write a prompt in like a chat GPT or something or another, put 2 into the chat. I know that's something that I personally struggle with, right? How do I get the best out of it? So I'm going to send you this link, but I'm going to go ahead and play this video now. Let me know if you hear the sound to it. It should be on.
Introducing Copilot Lab, a new experience that will help
Everybody
you
hearing
create
it?
new work habits
Yes.
for a new AI-powered era of productivity. Copilot Lab is a place to experiment, to learn the art and science of prompting. You'll learn how to turn a good prompt into a great one. Share your favorite prompts with coworkers, and get inspired as we all learn to work in a whole new way together.
So I'll make sure to send this as a separate link in the follow-up email. But this will be a tool that will help you get more productivity out of your Copilot, and then just any kind of chat tool, honestly. The next up is did I skip something? No, okay. Is the Copilot dashboard. This is where you can plan your readiness, drive adoption, and measure the impact. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that today, but we'll have more information available on it later. And then there are some other resources available for you as well. Just things about how to think about Copilot and AI tools in general. Threats to worry about. Culture shifts and other things. There's a lot of reports available to help you understand, where the best advantages are available. And there's some other playbooks out there for you as well. So I'll send this link so that you can read up on some of those things as well. And I think I'm doing pretty good on time, so I'm going to go ahead and run through a couple of more scenarios here for you, a couple more videos, and then we'll take a short break right after that. So the first one here is a little video about Excel. So I'm going to go ahead and get it started.
Python in Excel brings the world of Excel and Python analytics together, and now Copilot is here to help you along the way. With the new py function, you can use powerful Python libraries right within your Excel workbook to create compelling plots and visualizations, train machine learning models, and other advanced analytics. With Copilot, you don't need to be an expert. All you need are simple prompts. Want to estimate your future sales? Copilot can generate forecasts using one of the multiple Python libraries available through Python in Excel. You can then better understand and visualize the data by requesting a chart. With Copilot, you can create Python visualizations like multiplots to see how variables relate to each other, or use powerful data cleansing techniques such as regex to apply consistent formatting to your data, or apply machine learning models. Copilot brings the rich capabilities of Python and Excel to your fingertips.
All right. Well, I hope everybody got some good ones out of that one. Let's talk about a little bit about Teams meeting. Got a good one on this one.
Imagine you have an appointment that conflicts with your weekly business review. What if you could do both? With Copilot, you can opt to follow a meeting. After the meeting ends, Copilot will summarize what you missed. You'll get a notification in Teams when the recap is ready. This recap will highlight content that was shared, summarize notes, and any action items for you or others whose names were mentioned. You see that one of your customers was discussed, and you want to learn more. You can ask Copilot clarifying questions, and it provides a detailed response. It can tell you why a certain decision was made, and gives you helpful context. You can even ask Copilot what other solutions were considered, and it provides citations from the transcript so you can see where Copilot drew these conclusions. It's a huge time saver. So that was pretty cool. But the real magic of Copilot happens during a live meeting. Let's say you're in a meeting with your team. You can ask Copilot to summarize the meeting so far. You can see how it summarizes who said what points were made, and it's really capturing the spirit of the discussion. And as the meeting progresses, you can check in on where people stand. You can even ask Copilot what questions are unresolved. It's just amazing to see this happen in real time during a meeting.
All right. And then we've got one final example here. Let's go to the Outlook one.
Copilot in Outlook can help you prioritize your time and stay on top of meetings. Here you've been invited to a meeting that conflicts with the meeting you're planning to attend. Clearly, you can only attend one. From the meeting invite, you can choose to RSVP with follow. Switching over to your calendar, you can see that you're now following this meeting. Once the meeting starts on Teams, the organizer will receive a notification to record the meeting because someone is following it. Now, after the meeting is done and the recording is ready, Copilot will notify you that the meeting recap is ready for you to review. You can then ask Copilot some questions about the meeting, like, summarize this meeting, or are there any action items for me? That way you can stay on top of things as if you were present during the meeting.
All right. Sorry about that, Frank. Hope I didn't blow anybody's ears out. All right. I think we're going to go to have the questions after the second presentation. So.
All right. So as David had mentioned, a lot of what I wanted to talk through today is just kind of carry on our journey of what we've been doing over I guess this year. And thanks DJ for kind of recapping Copilot for 365, kind of the licensing requirements and so forth. But I do want to also give a shout out to anyone who's been with us through this AI journey. You probably know this is our third presentation on the topic. But if you were on computer, if you kind of remember kind of the path that we've walked you through on this a little bit, our first presentation was kind of just general around artificial intelligence. It kind of talked a lot about Chat GPT, kind of the variety of IT tools that were out there. Things were very fragmented, not a lot of information. Everyone was kind of a beta user, kind of trying to understand what was going on with things. And then we did our second presentation. That's kind of where we first drilled into more detailed information about Copilot. Bing Chat Enterprise was renamed Copilot Chat, and Copilot for 365 or for Microsoft 365 was just released. out of that presentation, you kind of heard, I think one of my key messages was that Copilot isn't here to replace us, but Copilot really needs us as the leader, as the pilot, if you will, to be able to be of any value for us. So, the kind of the value you bring as owners and stakeholders and leaders is that you really have to know your business. You have to know where AI could help. You have to know how AI could help and those kinds of things. And so on our last presentation, I shared kind of some Copilot tips, kind of the top 10 things to try first was one of the big deliverables out of that presentation. If you don't have that and would like it, we can still make that available to you. As David mentioned, we have kind of some of the departmental use cases. During the last presentation, I actually did a live demo of some of the Copilot applications and features and so forth. We brought up the concept of creating an AI council, being kind of who I am. I've kind of rebranded that and called it a flight team, just to kind of lean into the whole pilot Copilot thing. And then kind of out of that second presentation, the last thing that we really started talking about was which users. How do you figure out, which users are the best people to be part of that initial team to kind of get Copilot going. But I just realized flight team is that it's just kind of laying the groundwork for all the stuff that we're going to do next. And so kind of in this presentation today, I'm kind of trying to walk you a little bit through that whole adoption journey. As executives, as leaders, we're always trying to figure out, okay, how do I use this? I've got a limited amount of time in my executive week. I've got a limited amount of time that I can spend on things. What things are the most important things that I need to spend time on, and what's the overview of what I need to know about that? So today I just kind of want to talk to you a little bit about the kind of the adoption journey, and I've got these areas highlighted here for you. But I really think that the most important thing is that kind of figuring out who that stakeholder leader is, who's the executive sponsor of this project, who's going to allocate the bandwidth, the time, the budget, the things that are needed, for Copilot. And then how do I kind of establish that pilot group, that AI council, that initial flight team to kind of get us value as soon as possible? Because Copilot is definitely an investment. It's a huge investment in a completely new technology that requires a completely different way of thinking. And so in Microsoft's initial efforts, they realized that it's very easy to purchase Copilot and not get a lot of value out of it. So over the past year, or over the past 6 months, they've really pulled us to task and said, hey, we really need you part of these meetings. We need you learning about this. We need you to understand how this works. We need you to understand how to help people get it. Because if they just buy the license and try and set it up on their own, they're probably going to be mad at Microsoft and sorely disappointed and feel like they're not getting the value out of the license or getting the value for the license costs. And Microsoft has really doubled down on trying to make sure that every organization has the opportunity to get return value on the license cost as soon as possible. And so that's part of the thought process behind kind of this whole adoption presentation that I've got put together to go through with you guys today. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the different options for going through deployment. Like everything, you can kind of choose to do some things on your own or get a little help, but we just kind of want to share with you kind of some of the things to be aware of, including the whole idea of data governance. I know I've met with some of you in our security officers meetings that I've been running this year, and we've kind of had a lot of conversations about the importance of data governance and where that's going. And so I'll kind of lean into that a little bit more as we talk about governance and the Copilot initiatives that it's being driven by Copilot. But aside by Copilot, it's hard to understand that there's a lot of risk in understanding the importance of protecting all that data that ends up in our Outlook, Teams, and SharePoint, or wherever else in our tenant. In the security officers discussions that I've had with you guys one-on-one, I've talked a lot about that shared responsibility model, but I'm going to kind of put a little bit of a wrapper on it today, kind of from the Microsoft point of view, as opposed to the cybersecurity point of view, just to help you understand some of those little things, and also, I guess just ways that we can kind of help along that journey. I know Jeremy said that there'll be time to ask questions at the end, but because we're a little bit ahead of schedule and because of the pacing, if you have questions right now or as we walk through this, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and pop it in chat, and Jeremy, bring it to light, so that because it's hard for me to go through the presentation and see if someone's got like a chat message. But yeah, I'm more than willing to address it then and there as I walk through the kind of the workflow of going through an implementation.
Sure, happy to help.
All right. So kind of getting into some of the meat as opposed to the overview. Along that, I guess in this slightly more granular breakdown, you can kind of see Microsoft, after working with enterprise organizations, has really identified that it all starts with leadership. Some of their early initiatives were bubbled up by IT. IT said, hey, we need to do this. There wasn't the planning, there wasn't the executive buy-in, there wasn't the departmental buy-in. There weren't users that were, kind of had an interest or ability to integrate with AI or really understand the value. So they'd roll it out to everybody, and then it was just another piece of software on the shelf that nobody took advantage of. But you're obviously taking that first step by being here at the presentation. So kudos to you. And I would say that having that leader who is driving or finding a leader, if you're the executive sponsor, finding someone to kind of be that leader, that someone with high interest in AI, or maybe it's just overwhelmed in their role and is looking for anything to help, to kind of form that AI council or that flight team, is kind of where you start. Putting together a pilot group, kind of investing some time in them, kind of collaborating, and pulling it all together is what makes the project really get up and go. And so if you saw my initial slide, it talked about being a change agent. That's really what a lot of this is about. Is AI is such a dramatically different tool that it requires a complete change of mentality. Now, how many people in here have ever deployed a new piece of software? I guess, like David says, put a 3 in chat. Yeah, if you've ever deployed a new piece of software to your organization before, maybe replaced something that was working, you probably run into people who don't want to change. It worked before. They don't know why you have to go out and get a new piece of software. And, there's some pains from changing. As you change software, you realize that, there's new habits you have to develop. There's new understandings. When you first get started, it seems difficult because you do things maybe not the best way. And so you kind of have to figure out other ways. And so that's kind of where, having your council, your collaboration group, and understanding the importance of human change all fit in together. That as you go and try and become an AI-powered organization, AI has ability to really improve kind of the whole employee experience, the ability to get at information in the environment quicker. It's a little bit of a change of, hey, I'm HR, or I've got to give these documents to people, and people can go get these documents much easier on their own. Or there's certain training programs you want to implement, or other kinds of things. It really has ability to have a lot of impact in the organization. And as you go through the process with your AI council, some of the things that are recommended by Microsoft is not just have people who are piloting the software, but that they're getting together once a week, that they're talking through what's the big thing that they've learned, or what's the most important thing that they've come across, so that other people in that pilot group learn that information, can take it on and apply it to their particular work or department. If you have people all in the same department, it's very easy to transfer those things between other members of the department. If you have people in different departments, I think it becomes even more valuable, because something that you learn in finance or accounting might have a completely different impact on operations versus a completely different impact in leadership. So, cross-pollination between different departments is something that I tend to highly recommend. Obviously, knowledge workers are good people to be part of that group, top producers, whatever it happens to be. But, getting those ideas out, getting the end users to think about, how they can do things, and what it could impact are really valuable. And then the last part of that AI-powered journey is kind of the end user prep. Not just putting the tool in somebody's hand, but also giving them a little bit of training and education, and guidance on, hey, here's some ways you can do this, or here's some things we put in place to protect you from doing, putting more information out there than you want to, so that we can protect ourselves. So, training your users, helping them understand not just the value, but how to use that piece of software like you would do any other software. But the whole promise, the whole power of Copilot, I think, really lies in empowering your end users. It starts with leadership. You got to have a sense of, where do you want to put it? Where do you want to go? Do we even want to do this? Which, if you're doing nothing, that means end users are probably going to be doing things of their own. So there's some risk there. But the real power of this is getting your end users empowered, their ideas, their needs, their thoughts of what could be done, because they're closest to the work. I don't know about all of your organizations, but what I've heard consistently in the QSRs and other meetings that I've had with clients is that since COVID, staffing has been a top problem, and it continues to be a top problem. As an executive who's been leading our internal AI efforts, in my mind, I see that, hey, that staffing challenges may never go away. People are asking for more pay for less work, more benefits. It's harder to find people. It's harder to train people sometimes. But I truly believe that Copilot specifically, and AI in general, really gives us a tool we've never had before to take some pressure off of all the staffing challenges that we run into, as well as our own limitations of time. And we're always trying to figure out, how can I get a little bit more time in my day? How can I do a little bit more work? How can I accomplish a little bit more? How can I get to those things quicker that I know are going to be impactful for us this day, this week, this hour, so that I can get everything done. Any questions about there? All of this is wrapped in kind of responsible AI principles. As an executive leading our internal efforts, that's not so big to me, but just let it be known that Microsoft has really gone out of their way to the technology side of me. I'm very appreciative of all the things that Microsoft has done to have kind of a responsible AI out there. There's a lot of potential risks for AI, as well as the power. It's the old, with great power comes great responsibility. And Microsoft has invested tons and tons of money to not just create their own iteration of open AI, but also to add the security and add features in there that allow organizations to take care of it, not just enterprises, but smaller organizations as well. Now, where to start? I asked the question earlier, how many have used Copilot chat? And not a lot of you had. So I'd really like to encourage you to deploy Copilot chat. Now I've actually got it on, can you see my phone? I'm not, oh, actually my camera's off. Sorry. I don't know if you can see my phone, but I've got an Android, and right on my home screen, I've got Copilot right on the home screen. But for me, Copilot has replaced Google. I used to be a diehard Google Foo expert. I felt that if it was on the internet somewhere, I could use Google to get to it. But for the past probably 4 months, I've switched to Copilot Chat because I found that it's been more beneficial to me in helping me not just gather information and do research, but find that stuff a lot quicker. You can kind of see in Copilot Chat, it's got the same query just like Chat GPT, but at the top you see the little green button. That's telling you that it's protected, that's it's anything there stays within our tenant. It's any query or anything that I search. And you can also see that there's a couple of buttons over here that one of those buttons is for the web. So if I do a Copilot query, it's going to go out and search the web for information. And then if I click on work, then it's actually, the screen changed a little bit, and it's going to go out and search our internal Office 365 environment for particular things that I might be looking for. But I'd highly recommend that it's just a free download Copilot for Microsoft 365 onto your, or I'm sorry, Copilot, Copilot for Microsoft 365 on your smartphone, Apple, Android, whatever. And then you can also access it on your PC. There's actually an application that you can install from Microsoft Store. You can kind of see it has the same thing. I can do work or web. And the great thing about having the information is you can see all the different queries. It keeps a tracking of all your activity, as well as it can kind of help you with prompts. So whatever you're looking for, whatever you're trying to do, it's I guess my preferred chat tool these days, just given the power of being able to interact with so many other things that are out there. And then also, if you don't want to install either apps, you can just go to copilot.microsoft.com and copilot.microsoft.com in a browser, and it'll open up kind of the free session and give you a limited amount of stuff that you can access. But if you're at all on the journey, I'd highly recommend that's your first stop, because it's free. You can get going. You can kind of tinker with it and kind of compare it to what you might be doing with ChatGPT. What Microsoft has really coached us through in our trainings and stuff is to kind of break up the work. What they noticed in the enterprises, as I mentioned before, is that if you just came in with a technical approach to rolling Copilot out, you were wildly unsuccessful. Is that a thing? Can I say that? Wildly unsuccessful? I don't know if that's a thing, but that's what I'm going with. And so what they really encourage us to do is to be that technical readiness for our clients, but also help provide some of that end user enablement that maybe we don't always go out of our way to do for you, and using Office or using Word or using Outlook or Teams or those kinds of things. They've challenged us as partners to come out there and help develop those, that not just share the big picture view of adoption, but help you figure out the items in this essentials checklist to get you ready to go through user enablement. Of course, you can do it all on your own, kind of figure it out on your own for the, what you perceive as the lowest cost possible. But we've also kind of created some offerings to kind of help you accelerate your transformation, whether it's just securing the tenant, getting some of those security things in place, If you're wanting us to just do the actual deployment of Copilot, the setup, which is actually kind of a straightforward, not too time-consuming kind of a thing, or if you're looking kind of for that full guided user enablement where you're wanting us to help you coach up the sponsor, work through some of the scenarios for some of the different teams, or also getting that security in place. For us, we decided to kind of put that, maybe it's just the nerd in me, but what they call the AI council, I call flight school. So I feel like I should have like maybe a Top Gun flight jacket on or something, or maybe get lifts in my shoes, just so I appear taller as we help people. I'm not sure, but anyways, that's part of that aspect of us being there to kind of help our client organizations through that leadership journey, if that's something that they need or desire, because we recognize that, or Microsoft recognized that not every organization has kind of that sponsor who can be a little bit of a leader and can kind of walk the organization through some of those things, or provide some of the project management type kinds of things. I talked a little bit about the essentials there from that previous slide. I think the first two are things you can start easily on your own. Who's going to be the woman, or who's going to be the man? Copilot is, it's powered by need, by direction, by expectations. And that includes getting the technology into the right hands. Who will benefit the most from that? And those are some things that we can provide some guidance in as well. If you're just looking for general guidance, we're more than happy to share that for free. If we want to go into the actual your Office 365 tenant and kind of do some analytics, that's kind of part of our guided deployment. But the good thing is Microsoft is throwing tons of content out there for you. There's stuff out there about the variety of scenarios that enterprises have found helpful. I know that David is promised to share some of the use cases and stuff. The challenge that I found is that there's so much content out there. There's so much variety that a lot of it is more enterprise focused and harder for a smaller organization to absorb and take on. And so that's kind of why Microsoft has reached out to us as a partner to kind of come up with our own offerings to kind of help scale it down, aside from what they've put together at the enterprise level. And oddly enough, part of the explosion, all the content they put out there. Anyone have any idea why there's so much content out there about AI and how to deploy it from Microsoft? Anyone?
And it's constantly changing, right?
It's constantly changing, but the value, or the reason there's so much content out there is Microsoft is actually using AI to write more content. So it's I don't know if there's a chicken and a chicken as opposed to chicken and the egg, but the things are rapidly evolving. We have to watch like a monthly channel of updates from Microsoft, because there's new updates coming out all the time. They're pre-announcing things that they're about to do. They're adding improvements to tools that are already out there. And then there's different things that they're adding for security to kind of help out with things. So, in my personal Copilot journey, in the past 8 to 10 months or so, it's been overwhelming. I read, I'm constantly reading, I'm constantly trying to absorb. Our organization is the same way, but things that were true just a couple of weeks ago aren't true now, because of all the improvements, all the changes, all the innovation that's coming up from Microsoft to be a leader in AI and make Copilot one of the best.
Hey, Steve, Ben posed a question in chat. If I have a 40-page legal doc, how do I attach it rather than cut and paste it so I can get it summarized?
Sorry, if I have a 40-page legal doc, is it a Word document? If it's a Word document, within Word Copilot, you can have it summarized there. If it's like a PDF, the way that I typically would do it is if I've got a PDF on a website, I can use Chat Copilot to summarize the document. Now, in my personal experience, I found that it kind of struggles after about 40 pages, or like 30 to 40 pages. It kind of struggled to give me good summaries, but I found that I could do a summary and then ask it targeted questions like, can you provide me an outline of this content? Can you do, can you give me the top 5 tips from this particular thing? But if you go back, and I think David can share the videos for our last presentation, but I actually did a live demo of reviewing a document using Copilot, and then I think I did a live demo of creating a presentation from a document using Copilot. But I believe we recorded video on all of those, so those are all out there. If DJ, if you can snippet it or reshare that to Ben.
Yes, I'll include that in the recap.
And so, thanks for the question, Ben. Keep them coming. I'll try and field as many as I can, and as we go along. And like I said, I'm treating this like any journey that a step at a time, and take things in order. So and early on, it was hey, let's just get our head around the terms and stuff, and understand what AI can do, what some of the tools are out there. But the last one, I did a lot of live demo, and I only ran over by 30 minutes. So so there should be a few nuggets out there for you if you haven't seen that. Now, for the implementation executive summary, I'm not going to go through this in any large detail, other than to kind of show you that the main focus that I plan to talk about today is kind of those first 3 steps. The hey, let's help you get ready. There's a function called the quick assessment that we can help you out with. The onboarding engage, DJ shared a little bit about Copilot Lab and some of the things in there. There's some really great content. The four parts of creating a great prompt. That's something that in a short period of time, everyone who's using AI is going to understand the value of that. It's not just being able to ask a question or ask the right question, but it's about asking the question the right ways, or to ask the question even better ways to get exactly what you're after. The main part that I want you to take away from here is that the user enablement stuff, those are typically things you would do on your own, or be kind of the point people for, kind of trying to make sure all those things are happening. And then the technical readiness, once we get you set up, or if there's add-on services that you want us to do in addition to the basic setup, those are typically the things in the blue below would be the things that we would be handling as your IT department. They created this slide for an enterprise, basically saying, hey, someone on the operations side of the business needs to handle the user enablement. Somebody on the IT side of the business needs to handle technical readiness. So I've kind of use this and modify it kind of to represent the division between you and Fulcrum. Oh, and then I did want to point out, I'll go into a little bit more detail on the quick assessment later, but that's something that, it's like it's an hour longish kind of thing. And, in conversation with DJ, he's really wanting to make sure that our Fulcrum clients are up to speed and have a sense of what Copilot to do. So he'd asked if we could do that for free for all of our managed services clients, and so that was something that we agreed to. But this is a kind of a Microsoft web-based wizard that you go through, and you have to gather a whole bunch of information and put it in to kind of create a baseline. It gives you a ton of links and kind of generates this report with all those links, looks over your licenses. But in conversation with DJ, that's something that he wanted to make sure that we did for free. If we kind of do some of the research, it normally would take like a couple of hours for you to go gather it on your own, but we can gather some of that information and kind of help talk you through it to get through it a little bit easier. And then the get ready, the thing that I loved about or the reason I added this specific slide is because it talks about understanding scenarios, understanding where to start. These 7 areas are some of the different use cases, ideas for a specific end user department. Every organization is a little bit different. Every organization has different metrics and things that they're mindful of. But you can go out to the internet if there's one of these 7 areas that you have an interest in learning more about how Copilot could help. You can just search like Copilot for finance or sales, and unfortunately there's tools specifically for some of those, but the Copilot for Office 365 and operations and HR could help you find track down some content and presentations that dig more specifically into those areas. Out of one of my takeaways from some of the enterprise training is Microsoft really encouraged even the smallest organizations have enough, I guess they use the term, have enough people utilizing the tool to foster internal collaboration. I think they recommended like a minimum of 10 end users or 10% of the organization, have Copilot so that there's enough people to go through and gather the information. Of course, Microsoft doesn't always recognize it. For some organizations that may only have 10 end users, but again, the power is that internal collaboration that, hey, Joe from operations had this conversation with Betty from accounting, and all of a sudden, they kind of had this thing that they work on together, and now they're able to auto-generate it by utilizing Copilot, or they're able to get at that information a lot quicker. So, that's not to say that, one person, can't just go out and find high value themselves, but that's you can target things like your top 5 to 7 corporate processes or other things to kind of figure out who those people should be getting that value is. But also along that way, it's just kind of making sure that there's some sort of training that goes along with it to kind of increase that depth and breadth of knowledge, so it isn't just kind of a wasted cost on the license to because you decided you were going to go with 10 users. Does that make sense? Oh, and on the question of does Microsoft offer a trial period for Copilot? No, that's one that they do not. Microsoft has, if you've read the numbers, I can't remember the number, but Microsoft has invested, I don't know, $8 bajillion dollars into Copilot to kind of get it all up and going and working and get all the pieces to work together. They've taken focus away from all of their other technologies, so they're trying to recoup some of that investment as quickly as possible. So sometimes we get trials and stuff that we can run for our clients and for ourselves that we want to trial, that we want to test out. But Microsoft didn't even make trial licenses available to us. So even as a partner, we have to go and pay for every license of Copilot that we use in our organization. So just some feedback there on the whole idea of being able to do a trial. One thing that could help potentially, though, Microsoft asks that you purchase a year up front, but some of that could depend on your current license rhythm. It's possible that you could end up paying a little bit less if let's say you wanted to purchase now and your co-term, and we tried to co-term your license, we could potentially co-term your license to, like if your license renewal came up in December, then instead of paying for a full year by co-terming your license, I think that you could get away with only purchasing 6 months worth at whatever your co-term period is, as opposed to having to purchase that full year. So it's not quite a trial, but it's potentially a less expensive way to get into it, depending on when your co-term date would be. So that's just a little tip that they happen to mention at one of the trainings that they did for us. Again, I'm not going to go through this in too much detail here. We already shared out the 10 generic skills content. David, actually, I think we went through the scenario library a little bit in my presentation as well last time. So you already have some of that content, but really talked a lot about starting at that departmental level. That you want to, just like Microsoft is trying to get immediate return on their investment. A lot of this content is aimed at how do we get you immediate value for your investment, and that's really starting at the departmental level. How can we figure out specific roles and specific prompts so that we can create repeatable work? And that's really where I think AI helps, is kind of that automation piece of, like Ben was asking, hey, I've got a large legal document that I'm trying to review. How do I do that quicker? If we can help, if Microsoft can help you come up with prompts that you can apply not just to that one legal document, but to every legal document that you get, then all of a sudden, you're not having to do a lot of the rote work that you used to have to do before, and you can recover an hour this week, 2 hours next week, 4 hours every week for the next year is a pretty powerful thing to be able to do. And I can tell you, Ben, from my experience, being able to summarize documents is absolutely positively one of the most powerful things that I've been able to get out of it, out of Copilot. The other one for me is I'm carboned on hundreds of emails every single day, some that I'm actively involved in, some that I'm not, and so I'm constantly having to try and figure out where things are. And within Outlook, the superpower for me as an executive is being able to go into Copilot for Outlook and summarize email threads of, hey, what's going on here? Who's the owner of this? What are the action items? Simple things like that are really powerful for me, because as an executive, I'm pretty much carboned on everything that's out there. I'm not necessarily interested in everything that's out there in a particular day, but the things that are out there, I just need some sort of quick update on things, and don't always want to wait to ask somebody, hey, where exactly are we at with this? Now, out of our flight school guided onboarding, we do kind of help provide some, reprovide some of the things that are talked about here, but also try to help you by providing access to some training resources for individual learning. That's Microsoft has made some things available, but it requires some configuration to go along with it. So part of our flight school, we can present some Copilot training to your teams so that you can go out and do individual learning. Users can go out and do individual learning on their own. We can get access to adoption metrics and look at those people who do have Copilot licenses and see how they're using them, see how much that's changing things, as well as we can, out of our flight school, we created some surveys to kind of be able to gauge end user involvement and successes and so forth. But part of that is, really on that end user journey, just getting to aha, just trying to help you, this kind of find that sudden insight, or that one thing that you're like, holy cow, I can do this now, or this is so much easier than the way that I did it before. It's kind of trying to cultivate those habits that are going to make you successful with AI, and a lot of that is finding that first success. So in the flight school, we definitely encourage the weekly meeting, hour and a half long meeting with your fellow flight team, so that you can extract some of those aha moments that each people has and share with each other to help drive that whole think, act, feel framework of, wow, this is what somebody else is doing. How can I apply that to my particular job or my particular role or my particular department? I'm not going to go through Copilot Lab since DJ went through it a little bit, but in there's not just kind of some basic stuff, but there's also some more detailed examples of prompts that you can use in different areas. So, if you're trying to learn how to use Outlook more, you can actually go in there, look up Copilot prompts for Outlook, and go through some of the different stuff in there. So there's build your own kinds of things, and then there's pre-made stuff in there that you can get access to. But you can also, as you come across those different prompts, part of the power of the Copilot Lab is it allows you to kind of favorite or save those prompts, or share a prompt that you've created with somebody else in your organization, so that they can take advantage of as well. So Ben, if there's something that you find particularly helpful, then you could, hey, Karina, this is something that I figured out in this particular application. Thought I'd share it with you because I thought you could get a lot out of it. Extend and optimize. For us, this is outside the scope of flight school, and a lot of that is because some of this is more long-term thinking, more enterprise oriented. But to me, the whole point of the flight school and building a flight team is to let's get quick value, let's get quick functionality, let's make our money back on our initial investment as quickly as possible. But the extend is just as important, because I really see extend as the more valuable part of this. Yes, you want to get that quick value, that quick return, because it's quick. As a business, cash flow is king. We have to stay in business every single day by getting value as quickly as possible. But where extend comes into play is these are long-term things that are required. So this is, to really get the scale out Copilot. What Microsoft did is they threw in this tool they call Copilot Studio. Unfortunately, Microsoft has this bad habit of, when they come up with a group of stuff, they name it all the same. So if you've seen everything that's called Defender, there's like 6, 7 different things that are completely different things, but all have Defender in the name. They recently did the same thing with Viva. It took a whole bunch of different employee engagement and training and other things. They all kind of lumped them under the Viva brand. Well, they've done the same thing with Copilot. They've got Copilot Chat, which is like ChatGPT. They've got Copilot for 365, which is functionality built into the Office suite. They've got Copilot in GitHub. They've got Copilot in Power BI. They've got 2 new tools from Dynamics. They've got Copilot Sales and Copilot Support and Copilot Finance. So, unfortunately, they threw Copilot at everything, and it kind of really makes it confusing. But really what they're saying when they throw Copilot into the name is they're saying, hey, there's some AI in this tool. So every time you see Copilot, don't think that it's all the same tool. Just know that Microsoft is saying, hey, there's a little bit of Copilot in this particular piece of software, and we'll explain what it is. Well, in Copilot Studio, it's a completely different set of software, a completely different set of configuration that can connect to your technologies. For example, a cloud application that you have. So in your journey, you've got your Office 365 organization, maybe you've got a main app, maybe you've got a couple of main apps, maybe you use Salesforce or whatever. The promise of Copilot Studio is to try and connect all of those together so you can pull intelligence from each of those individual apps into your own dashboard. So the ability to get in and get access to information that you might not normally have access to by pulling those different resources together. So, the great news is that they're building connectors in Copilot Studio for things like Salesforce, all your enterprise applications. That's part of why I say that, the extend isn't a short-term quick fix, unless you are using something like Salesforce or something out there that's already supported. But you're going to have the ability to build your own connectors with Copilot Studio so that you could potentially connect your primary application for your organization to a secondary app with your organization, to Office 365, to your payroll processor, to QuickBooks Online, or whatever it happens to be, that there's a possibility that you're able to connect all those things with a common thread where you're able to actually develop automations or develop chatbots so you can ask it questions and get insight into things. Maybe which one of my clients am I making the most profit on the least amount of interactions, or whatever it happens to be. The promise of being able to ask questions like that and not have to program that yourself. All you're doing is program the connectivity, and then Microsoft, through native language and AI, is able to query the application for those types of things. They call it, what's the term they use for it? It's really trying to query all your main applications for kind of that end-to-end analysis, but they're trying to, what they call it is kind of creating a citizen developer, creating an individual in your organization who's really just an end user, but with the power of AI and no programming skills is able to get at that bit of information that would really help the organization. Does that make sense? Are you guys kind of understanding the concept of how Copilot Studio and Extend is vastly different than all the other stuff that's part of the standard Office 365 Copilot journey? Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to keep going and finish out. I think I only have like 5 or 6 more slides to go, but I want to start here with the quick assessment. So what we're doing is, we're wanting to help you get value as soon as possible. So through the end of this month, we're going to help you through this readiness assessment. So it's there to you can kind of read through that and kind of see some of the things that it's aimed to gather. But there's information that we have to gather from your tenant about your licensing and users and operating systems and other kinds of things that we have to come up with. That's part of the 2-hour initial estimate that I had. There's a wizard that we walk through with you, basically asking you questions, helping guide you through, kind of how that question would be answered or could be answered or should be answered. And then it spews out the kind of the dashboard that you see on the right, but really prints it out as delivers it as a report. So we put your email address in there when we go through the wizard. You answer the questions, it spawns this out for us, but then it also sends it back to you with the summary of this information. And then there's also some links in there that, hey, if you want to learn a little bit more about this particular topic, click this link. So right in the PDF, you click the link, it takes you out to that information. You can not just see like a quick slide on things, but some of them actually take you out to like Microsoft Learn topics. And if you know about Microsoft Learn, that's Microsoft's free online self-education kind of stuff that they're starting to do with all of their technologies. Basically, they're trying to I don't know how to say it, but make it free for you to get better at all the Microsoft tools. And so what they did is they're programming AI to write all of these Microsoft Learn walkthroughs on the different technologies so you can understand what they are, how they work. In the quick assessment, it kind of goes through and kind of does kind of some data security readiness. It kind of maps, I guess, kind of your organizational readiness, kind of which recommended deployment path should you follow, and then maybe kind of give you some guidance on which outcomes and activities to focus on, to kind of get through your Copilot deployment. So for you as the executive, you're going to read the report and you're going to think to yourself, kind of, are all my gaps in this plan? Have I identified kind of my first batch of people that I want to kind of target? How many licenses do I need or want? What data security things do I need to focus on? So on and so forth. In the end, as a project manager, you're going to do all the project manager things. What needs to be done? Who's the owner? What's the due date? What's the next step? Kind of those kinds of things to kind of figure out your priorities as you go through the implementation. And as I mentioned, free through the end of this month. Now we've also kind of came up with some offerings for you. Some we came up with kind of with Microsoft. Some we came up separate from Microsoft because the Microsoft cost for some of those things was higher than we felt our smaller clients would want, as opposed to enterprises. But kind of that first offering, I called it just simply Copilot. That's kind of where you're all in. You want to do it. You don't want any more barriers in your way. You just want to get started. That's where we'd go through and kind of set up kind of the foundational stuff. There's some configuration we have to go through to enable Copilot. The challenge there is that to do some of these things, actually kind of changed my bullets there, but one of the things that could empower you to do this is if you don't have your shares in OneDrive today, you could actually get started and have a little bit less danger. The problem is you have a little bit less power, if all your data is still on file shares and not in OneDrive, but there's less exposure out there. So if all your files are in file shares and it's not in OneDrive, you could actually get going fairly quickly if we just do the configuration. And then that would give you time to figure out SharePoint and OneDrive and get your protections in place before you do your rollout to migrate all your data to SharePoint and OneDrive. If you're already in SharePoint, Microsoft just this quarter came up with this capability where we can turn off SharePoint for you from your searches. So SharePoint and OneDrive would still be where all your data resides, but until you could get the security stuff going, you could actually turn the ability to search that stuff off in the short term. So there's two different ways you could get into Copilot quicker. One, all my shares or all my files are in file shares on servers, not in Copilot, because Copilot can't query that. Of course, the problem is you don't have the access to those things. But the second thing is, if I already have my data in OneDrive and SharePoint, but I don't have time to secure it, I just want to get going on Copilot, again, you could just get going and move forward. The second part, or the other part of Simply Copilot, is we have to install an updated version of Office Suite on all the individual laptops or desktops or whoever else is going to have it. During our initial deployments, Copilot is still new enough that there's a lot of issues with that deployment. So we just pushed it out to machines, reboot the machines, and it didn't work. We go through, did a whole bunch of monkeying with stuff, got the licensing squared away. Then we went and looked at individual apps, and Word worked, but Outlook didn't. So we had to do things with Outlook to get it going. So it's a little bit of a problematic thing to kind of get it going to all machines and everything to work correctly. But we would work through all of those things with you and kind of the Simply Pilot charges, but then leave you to your own devices to kind of figure out Copilot on your own. And so that's a real simple, easy, 1,500. I think we estimated 10 hours or so to kind of get through those first steps, plus just kind of a per user charge of $50 per user. And of course, you see kind of the caveat there. This assumes you're going to be doing at least 10 licenses, and that you're going to be purchasing and paying by the June 30th date to qualify for the discounted pricing. So Simply Copilot, hey, I just want to get going. I don't need a lot of guidance. I don't need to secure things. I just want to get going, turn everything else off that I don't have to do today. Now, Microsoft, if you have Premium, Microsoft Premium offers the ability to do configuration. It's an additional. How much is Premium over the other license, DJ?
It's $10 additional over the standard.
So Premium has some additional pricing, but if you have the Premium and the risk management in there, you have the ability to do risk management on your own. There's some configuration and stuff that goes along with it. It's a lot more. One of some of the more difficult parts are going through and figuring out your, just your own retention policies. How long do I want to keep things? What things do I need to secure? What types of data is out there? What do I want to protect? What do I want to apply? So those are things that we can help you develop in Premium. If that's something that you want. With Premium, there's policies that data governance policies that can be applied. But we also have a third-party tool. We're able to figure out how to do that without the additional Microsoft licensing. And so that would be a one-time cost of $2,500 before the end of the month. And we basically go through and generate some detailed reports of your tenant, what conditions are there, and I'll dig into some more detail on some of that later. Talk with you about remediations, how to correct some of those things. Again, this is going to require you as the data owner to make some decisions about what do you want to allow, what do you not want to allow. We can provide some guidance, but in the end, you're the data owner. Only you can make some decisions about how you want to handle certain types of data and certain things. Despite our efforts to help and so forth. Out of this, we help you complete some of the remediations to reduce those data repository risks. And so typically, if you're doing this risk assessment and risk management piece, we would come in and do these things first and then come back and turn on Copilot, deploy Copilot, and then let you figure out Copilot on your own. So it's kind of an either or there. Hey, I just want it turned on, or I want it turned on and I need you guys to do a risk assessment for, I think we estimated around 20 hours. So, hey, 10 hours, just turn it on. 20 hours, turn it on and give me a little bit of security, give me a little bit of one-time security to kind of get it going. This doesn't require the premium license if you don't have it already.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
Question for you. I was operating under the assumption that Copilot will, in kind of an overarching configuration, can be or will by default only keep my information within my organization and will not share that information with anybody else using the system. Is that correct? I mean, that's
completely correct. The problem is that within your organization, the power of Copilot is that through emails, through Teams, through what's in OneDrive, every user in your organization with Copilot also has the ability to query Copilot. So they could query Copilot about documents, reviews, revenues, salaries, anything that they want to. And so the risk management piece is to protect you from yourself a little bit, but it's also the risk from you've got users who've got access to things. Forget that a user wants to go out and do things. What if you were compromised? What if a threat actor got into your environment? Copilot enables, even if Copilot wasn't there, a threat actor in your environment has access to a whole bunch of things that you may not intend them to have access to if they get access to your machine. And so the whole risk management piece is to protect your internal organization from itself as well as from outside parties. Because in a lot of cases, as users, we do what's easy for us as users. Hey, I've got this document. I want to make it easy for anybody to access. Instead of sharing it with only a specific user, I'm going to say, if you're a user in this organization, anybody's a user in my organization has access to this document. Well, now even a threat actor has access to that document, even if that wasn't your intention.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. Great question. And then the last piece there, the Fulcrum Flight School. That's kind of where that's going to be more of the guided adoption, kind of the 8-week, 60-day kind of plan of where we go through and try to help you out with some weekly content. We'll help set up some self-learn training resources for you. We'll configure that to attach to Teams to make it easy for people to get access to those resources. We'll provide a one-on-one kind of a leader's overview, kind of a, we went through a little bit of the content here in an hour. We'll go through a deeper dive one-on-one with whoever the leader is of your internal initiative, whether it's the executive sponsor or whether it's a point person who you've selected to kind of champion your groups or kind of take them through that. We'll spend a couple of hours on going through a deeper dive in what it takes to deploy Copilot. And then through the end of this month, we're also going to include 3 one-on-one trainings of Copilot for 3 end users. So let's say you want to roll it out to your 10 people in the organization, but you want to get some more one-on-one training. Yes, you've got the self-learn that they can do on their own, but maybe you've got 2 or 3 executives that you want more of kind of that one-on-one training so that they can really get off the ground and going, or maybe it's your busiest employee. They've got a lot of stuff going on and they're scared of technology, and you just want to kind of prepare them a little bit more, kind of provide some one-on-one training and kind of share some of the use cases for their specific roles that we can kind of dig into as part of that training. We'll also we'll have the ability to kind of pull some user surveys or generate a user survey that we can kind of send out and ask some questions, provide you the results, again, using an external tool. And then we can generate some usage reports that we can look at on a weekly basis and kind of try and make some observations about things. And then the last thing that we kind of provide as part of that flight school is we've kind of got like we talked first about, hey, we need to get everybody on Copilot chat and out of ChatGPT. There's probably already people in your organization who, if there's no guidance, people just go do what they want. That's if you've been through some of my security officer education and meetings that we've had, I talk about it and call it shadow IT. We don't want people using tools we don't know about. But we include a template AI chat policy so that to steer them towards basically it's a basic policy and a basic email template that if you're trying to get your organization into Copilot for ChatGPT, to kind of spell that out for them so that that they're aware of that, and just another policy you can add to your organization to kind of help you get started. But for that, we're only looking for another couple grand more above what you might have from the risk analysis and setup. So if you're getting the all in, if you're getting, hey, I want you to turn on Copilot, I want you to deploy to all my PCs, I want you to secure my environment, and I want you to take us through the training. Through the end of this month, it would be $4,500 plus the $50 per seat plus whatever licenses that you would have, that Copilot license that you would have out of that. So we're really trying to scale it down from the I think Microsoft's recommendations were, like 10 grand and 10 grand for, the risk assessment, and 10 grand for the guided assessment. We're just kind of trying to scale it down to kind of be more apropos to, kind of that smaller organization. And so we've kind of created our own content, created our own values, created our own things that we're included in there. Again, just real quick, I just want to make sure that that's clear as far as some of the different options that are available to you. Of course, we don't want to take away, hey, just getting started on your own and getting going. There's something that you can do. And then last, I just kind of want to dig into this just real quickly. The risk management, this just kind of goes through what we're doing. We're basically setting up a tool, running it across all your workloads, conducting kind of a risk assessment. We kind of we'll review and remediate 3 of your workloads. So that would cover like your Teams, whatever Teams vulnerabilities you have, whatever OneDrive kinds of things are out there, making you aware of those risks. Outlook, making you aware of those. The one thing that we ask is that we'll deliver all the results to you in a report, and then that we complete that revisions in 30 days. This just kind of overviews some of the different things that we capture in that report. making sure that if your shared files out there that they've expired, that there's getting rid of direct sharing of things. Really just trying to lock down all of these things, because a lot of times these things just kind of like your team's environment. If you set it up on your own or just let it develop, things just kind of happen out of chat and Teams, and may have unanticipated consequences. Just kind of the shared what a sample implementation might look like. Our flight school is kind of focused on that first 60 days, trying to help walk you through some of the different things to make sure your team turns around and gets value really quickly out of your view. And just in summary, Microsoft rolled this out at the enterprise level. We're kind of trying to take, that whole enterprise process, scale it down to be more appropriate for a smaller organization. And, really just to kind of review a little bit of that, you kind of see them there that, hey, figure out who's going to be that executive sponsor, to first get you started, and then who's going to be your leader, who's going to be on your team. Those are some of the key things that were my takeaways from the enterprise process. Figure out the what scenarios do I want to prioritize? If you're trying to deliver value, figure out where the biggest value is first. And those are some things that we can likewise help you with. And the flight team, maybe you already have an idea of where you want to start, and you're fine with just kind of the entry level start. Creating the success plan, flight school is designed to kind of help guide you through that. But of course, depending on who you are and your project management skills and bandwidth, it's possible that's something you can kind of create your own success plan. And then finally, the last part of that is just executing your plan for your organization. Now, I know I went through a lot, and we've got some time for questions, but I know you guys answered questions along the way. Are there any questions at this point that anybody has?
Yeah, the one thing that scares me. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, the one thing that scares me is the prospect of, deploying this and potentially breaking somebody's version of Office. Could you expand on where the current version of Office 360 is in terms of stability and reliability?
Yeah, so from what I've seen, it hasn't broken somebody's Office. I have found that the newer versions of some of the Office Suite tools, I'm gonna use the phrase have some challenges. So for myself, when I upgraded, I initially stuck with the old versions of Teams and the old versions of Outlook. You can do that. There's no problems with doing that, but you don't get the benefits of the Copilot features. So if you want all of the features of Copilot for Outlook, you have to use the new version of Copilot for Outlook. So what I do on a typical day-to-day basis, one of the features I like about Outlook for Copilot, or Copilot's iteration of Outlook, the newest version of Outlook, is when I open my Outlook, it tries to prioritize my emails in the order that it thinks are of most importance to me. So when I show up in the morning, open up the new Outlook, and I look at that first. That's my first glance into my Outlook. Once I get through the things that I think are priorities, then I flip open the old version of Outlook, because I prefer that more on a day throughout the day workflow kind of thing. So I think your question is very valid. And hey, what are the unintended consequences that we might experience out of this? It doesn't break anything, but I will say that between the different versions, there are some things that I find more cumbersome. If you know Outlook, the current version of Outlook, the new version, some of the it's kind of a web-based version to get the full functionality. And so some of those features are a little bit harder to use, or some of your old features, like even stupid things like attaching a signature in the web-based Outlook, is so much more difficult if you have multiple signatures than it is in the older version. So some things, I guess I'll say, some things I find I use either or both, depending on the particular application.
Can they?
Now, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
it appears that we can keep the old version
Yes.
of Outlook
They can
on
coexist.
machines. Does that apply to all the Office apps?
I don't know. The newest versions of Office, or I'm sorry, the newest versions of like PowerPoint and Excel and those kinds of things, Word, the newer versions, they're all the same. So it's not like a web-based version like the Outlook was. So I didn't run into any of those issues there, but there are some issues with getting the update to apply correctly, because even if what I ran into is, even though I've got Office 365 configured to auto update, it didn't auto update, or Copilot doesn't auto update correctly. So it required a manual update for me to get all the Copilot features in the current version.
Okay.
It's like a completely different installer.
Got it. Can the new version be deployed in a remote desktop environment, virtual machine environment?
I haven't tried that, but I would expect so. And I can, Jeremy, could you take that as an action item, and I can research that.
Sure. What is it?
The question is, can the Copilot version of Office be deployed in a remote desktop environment?
Got it.
Now, I
Thanks,
will
Jeremy.
say, Frank, that in my experience, the Copilot, if you can install the Office apps on your smartphone, and Copilot works there in all of those versions, the anticipated way. Or if you, in my experience, in a web browser, if you have people using the web browser version of Office, the Office suite, it works there as well. I haven't run into any issues there.
Okay. That helps.
So
Thank you.
those are potential workarounds as well.
Absolutely.
Hey, Steve, Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Let me ask you, the OneDrive, I'm blinking on that. Are you saying that a document that we download or that we have from our file directory has to be put into OneDrive for it to be effective? For a Copilot to be effective in researching material off the one document that we're talking about?
So if you're trying to do research on a document that's on a file share, one of the requirements for a lot of the features with Copilot is it must be in a OneDrive environment.
Okay.
Now you can. So for us, I'll give you an example here. Let me show this. So for example, in our organization, we have kind of a folder structure in our OneDrive environment that's made. There's permissions that apply to each of these, and certain things are applied to different people. Any document in here I can search, but with OneDrive, I can also back up my own machine to OneDrive. So if I'm backing up my machine to OneDrive, then I could search any document that's in my, in my case, I'm sharing my desktop and my documents folder. So if I'm backing up my machine or my documents folder to OneDrive, then I could pull up a document there and do whatever queries I wanted against it.
And Steve, our environment is, we've got so much protected data that is related to, required to support all the HIPAA regulations. Do you see any issues in that? Backing up everything into OneDrive?
So that's really where the Microsoft Premium really comes in. Microsoft Premium has ability to automatically enable sensitivity against items based on their type. So within Office 365 DLP, I think there's probably, I don't know, I would guess there's 40 or 50 different sensitivity labels for different types of data, but there's examples such as US PCI, US HIPAA healthcare, PII, general PII. There's like all these different, I think there's like 7 or 8 that are US based, but with DLP or with your file shares, that requires you to get the files in the right folders with the right permissions. Once you get things into OneDrive, OneDrive has the ability to automatically apply those labels wherever they are. If somebody puts a HIPAA document in some folder that they didn't mean to, you can still apply those permissions automatically if you've got sensitivity labels enabled and configured. So to me, what the limitations of shares are, you're always limited by how the folders were set up and what the permissions were, and how well you maintain those permissions and groups and those kinds of things, versus can I automatically apply security by the type of data. So to me, it's getting more granular, more secure, and better able to protect your data in a modern workplace.
So I've got limited background in this, very limited, but I've been using GPT mostly because it's free and I didn't have to worry about deployment. Right. And, of course, I've worked with IT and let them know what I'm doing. So when I consider Copilot, I go, well, it certainly is going to interact better with the Microsoft apps, which is a plus. I am quite frankly worried about OneDrive, but I could still get the benefit from Copilot of all the Microsoft interplay and block access to our file structure. Correct? Is that correct? Do you believe that?
Can you restate that? I'm sorry. I'm not sure I understand.
I'm sorry. I barely understand. So what I'm thinking is, the reason I'm interested in Copilot, the one time somehow I got access to it and utilized it and compared my limited experience with using ChatGPT, I'm going, well, this is kind of slicker. But I don't think I'm going to be able to persuade the organization to deploy our file share mechanism, our file structure into OneDrive. However, I still think there's benefits of having Copilot because of its interplay with Microsoft, the apps, and still not letting it access all our file folders.
Okay, I think I understand now. And I guess what I was trying to articulate was that, okay, so you've got healthcare data in your file shares, no problem. But there's other data that you're working with. You just mentioned reading a legal document.
Right.
Is that legal document in your HIPAA protected shares?
Probably not.
Okay, so where is it located?
We have the folders where we know it's not located any differently than our other folders, our limited folders, but we know where our protected data folders are versus our PHI folders are versus our, a legal document that, of course, anyone can go to the courthouse and get that 40-page document.
Right, and I think that's kind of where I was going with that, is that it might be a little bit of a change in mentality, but you can leave your file shares where they are, and there's no problem with that. With Copilot Studio, if I remember correctly, there actually is a way that you can create a connector to file shares to a server, but there's usage fees for that to create that connector. So I just want to add another wrinkle to it. You still can leave stuff in file shares, but there's charges for the amount of data. There's like minimum fees. There's all kinds of other stuff. So to me, it was, well, that's kind of cost prohibitive and kind of hard to deal with. But I get that not all data is really meant to be in OneDrive. I will say that you're better able to protect your data in OneDrive than you are on a file share. I wholeheartedly believe that because of the granularity that DLP provides, and all the alerts and notifications and other kinds of things that you don't have in a simple file system and file share. But there's some other thing that I was going to say related to that: file shares, permissions. Oh, I was going to say that you don't have to move all your file shares over to OneDrive. You can just selectively choose if you think you're going to be. I mean, keep in mind it's a pilot. If one of your biggest hassles is you're reviewing legal documents and having to summarize them, you could simply migrate just a folder over to OneDrive and evaluate that as part of your pilot program. Hey, I just want to move my contracts folder over to OneDrive that these people have permissions to, so that we can go on and do whatever evaluation we want to of anything legal that's out there. Or maybe it's hey, all of our users are going to back up their desktops to OneDrive, and anything that they want to do research on, they just need to copy it to their desktop while they're working on it, and then copy it up to our file shares when they're done.
Yeah,
I
appreciate that.
Steve, is that part of what y'all do during the integration process, is evaluate the data and basically set it up so that it can or cannot be accessed?
Yeah, when we configure OneDrive or when we do the data risk, it looks at all of your existing OneDrive folders. Now, it doesn't. If your data's in file shares today, and you're in a rush to get them to OneDrive, that's going to. I mean, that's basically a SharePoint migration project or OneDrive migration project. That's kind of a completely different beast outside the scope of what we're talking about. But that's things that we're doing today for our clients. Is they've got folders they've got folders on file shares. We're helping them migrate those legacy permissions and legacy folders. It's just like anything on your network. If you've got file shares that you've had for 5-10 years, they're probably kind of out of control, not structured very well. The permissions are kind of loosey-goosey. Your groups don't quite apply. That's just the nature of business. That there's an entropy for networking that over time it just kind of falls apart as groups change, as the organization grows, as new people come in and things get moved around. But once you get moved to OneDrive, that still doesn't go away. It's just it's in a way with more ability for Microsoft to apply controls, to apply insight to it that file systems were never intended to have.
Got it. Thanks.
Sure. All right. I know we're a little over our time, but these are great questions. I appreciate all the questions. Anybody else with anything they'd like to ask? Okay. Before I drop off, I did just want to show you guys this. How many of y'all use Teams? Y'all use Teams? Yeah. So I've actually found some of my favorite features out of Teams that I'm sharing my Teams screen with you now, and you can kind of see the Teams Copilot. But you can see that now that here's some prompts that Teams just sent me towards the end of this. That David, were we recording this?
Yes.
Okay. So if we're recording this, at the end of this, Teams is going to generate notes from this. It's going to automatically do kind of a transcript when I do the recording. But in addition to the transcript, it'll AI generate notes from the meeting. So every time I have a meeting, at the end of the meeting, if I record it, it also spews out like AI notes for the meeting that just happened that I can go back and review at a later date. And if there were certain people that were action items, what happened?
Crushed.
But if there are notes or things out of the meeting, then it'll tell me like who the owner was and those kinds of things. It just told me some of the key topics from the conversation we just had. It just listed out some of the action items. In other chats I've had, I can go into Copilot and say things like, hey, this meeting's almost over. What was the engagement from the users based on what each person did or said or whatever as part of the meeting. It'll give me feedback. I can ask it, what are some closing items I should redress, or what are some summary items you think I should go over? It's real interactive, and it'll go through and do all of those kinds of things for you while you're in the meeting. And I find some of those things really, really helpful. Even if I miss a meeting or late to a meeting, it can catch me up. Hey, what have I missed so far in the meeting? It'll give me kind of some summary so I can kind of catch up. But anyways, that's Teams is one of my favorite parts of Copilot that I always like to share if you're a Teams environment. And I'll turn it over to Jeremy. You have the ball, Jer.
I was just sharing in chat that we're happy to get into a deep dive conversation for any specific environment questions. So feel free to reach out to us to schedule a more specific conversation for you guys.